It started with a laugh, not a cruel one, not at first. Just a few quiet giggles outside my office. Teenagers find something to laugh at every 5 minutes. I didn't think anything of it until I heard my name. Did you hear about Miss Parker's daughter? My hand froze over the keyboard. Then came the knock. Rachel, one of the science teachers, peeked in. Her expression was tight with discomfort. Can I talk to you for a second? I shut my laptop and nodded. She stepped in and gently closed the door. You need to see something before the kids say anything else. It's a video of Mia, my daughter. No. I already felt cold. Rachel hesitated before handing me her phone. I didn't want to look. But I did. Mia's face. Then her body, moving in ways I knew weren't hers. My stomach turned. My fingers went numb. I dropped the phone. That's not her, I said. My voice came out thin. It's not, Rachel confirmed. It's one of those deepfake things. But it looks real. I held the edge of my desk to keep myself steady. It wasn't real, but it didn't matter. The image would stick. That night, I sat in the dark, staring at Mia's Instagram profile. It had been private. She was cautious, always had been. But someone had stolen her face, her laugh, her smile, her expressions, and made it into something wild. I followed a link someone had sent anonymously. The video was hosted on a slick adult site with vague branding buried under layers of redirects, but there it was in the fine print, powered by Vox Flesh. I clicked. The company's homepage was a splash of marketing lingo and fake optimism, AI-generated entertainment. The future of immersion. Then I saw him, Colin Arlo, founder and CEO, smiling in a tailored suit, hair sculpted, arms folded. Smugged, I stared at that face longer than I meant to. Mia came home the next morning. Pale, shaking, withdrawn. Why would someone do this to me? She asked. I didn't have an answer. I just pulled her into my arms. She fell asleep that afternoon in her old bed, and I opened my laptop. The police report went nowhere. The officer barely looked at the folder I brought. It's not her body, technically, he said. We can't prove harm. They handed my evidence back like it was a returned package. I went home, sat in the cold quiet of my kitchen, and stared at the folder. Next came the lawyer. Then another. Finally, a third. It's federal, he said. And expensive. How expensive? 10 grand to begin. Possibly more. I hung up. The numbers swirled in my head. My salary, Mia's college fund, the home repairs I'd postponed for years. I couldn't afford to defend my own child. So I went public. Out of 50 media inquiries, one local blogger responded. Lee. Kind eyes. Tired-voiced, he met me for coffee, took notes, asked thoughtful questions. He published a piece the next morning. Mother challenges AI firm after deepfake destroys daughter's reputation. It had 83 views, then it vanished, his website redirected to a blank placeholder. His social media was wiped. I messaged him. Nothing. Then the emails came. The subject lines made my skin crawl. You're famous now. Star of the show. One message was just a GIF, that fake image of Mia, looping. The sender's address. Mommy, can't he save you? Mia accidentally saw one. She stopped opening her laptop after that. I forwarded everything to the police. No one responded. At night, I didn't sleep. I read. I searched. I joined forums, learned about OSINT, metadata, image scraping. I took notes like I was preparing for ward. I joined support groups. Women whose daughters had been digitally destroyed. Some anonymous. Some brave. All broken. A stranger messaged me. Look up F112_listing, txt on GitLeak. I found it. A data breach. Internal files. A section labeled betaface/verified. I opened it. Mia_park3 JPEG. My hands shook. There were others. I contacted the ones I could find. Emma, a med student. She served me tea with trembling hands. They erased me, she said. Replaced me with something people wanted more. Sophia, now living under a new name, only spoke via encrypted text. He has money. Lawyers. He'll erase you too. Rachel, her sister, had tried to end her life after being deep-faked in college. She survived. Barely. Another woman wouldn't give her name. Just a voice on the phone. He'll find you. Meanwhile, Colin Arlo was on magazine covers. The future of AI entertainment. Innovation beyond limits. He smiled in every photo. He toasted champagne. He hosted panels on ethics. I printed them out, tacked them above my desk. I wasn't angry anymore. I was methodical. I created a folder named Personal. Inside, I placed an image. Colin, drunk at a college reunion. Publicly available. I tweaked the colors, added contrast, a suggestive caption, posted it anonymously on a gossip forum. Tech CEO's frat party secret. It spread like wildfire. Memes. Threads. Commentary. For the first time in weeks, I smiled, but the story faded. His PR team spun it as a hoax. Coordinated misinformation. Still, something had shifted in me. I ordered books. Learned how to read SEC filings. I started going through Voxflesh's quarterly reports. Too many views. Too few conversions. The math didn't add up. Then I found it. A Slack leaked at an old message from a dev. Tripled ad impressions last week. Bots working overtime. Fraud. Documented. I compiled everything. Sent it anonymously to a former journalist I found on Substack. Subject line. Truth from the inside. No name. Just facts. 3 days later, the headline. Exclusive. AI startup Voxflesh accused of investor fraud using fake traffic. The story went viral. Voxflesh's valuation plummeted. Investors panicked. Colin vanished from public view. I didn't tell Mia. Not yet. Then the letter arrived. Delivered to my school. Cease and desist. Defamation. Harassment. Legal intimidation in official font. The principal called me in. This won't affect your job for now. But the board is cautious. I nodded. Calm. Focused. He was scared. So was I. At home, Mia stood in the hallway, arms crossed. You lied to me. I said nothing. You said you'd stop. I had to, Mia. Her eyes welled. You're going to ruin yourself. And I don't want to be the reason. She stepped back. Closed her door. I looked down at the envelope in my hand, and I knew this was just the beginning. The officer didn't even take his hand off his coffee when I handed over the file. Screenshots, dates, threats, evidence organized, color-coded. I'd put hours into it. My hands were trembling as I placed it on the counter. He barely glanced. It's not technically illegal, he said. It's not her body. There's no crime we can charge. My voice caught. They used her face. Her name. It's her. He handed the folder back like it was a flyer. I'm sorry, ma'am, but there's not much we can do. I walked out into the cold air, feeling like I'd been slapped. The folder pressed to my chest, suddenly so much heavier. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I went home. Mia was on the couch. She didn't even look up when I walked in. Anything? She asked softly. No. She pulled a blanket tighter over her legs. She hadn't eaten. Hadn't gone to class. My daughter, the honors student, the cautious one, now afraid to even open her laptop. I knelt beside her. We'll figure it out. I promise. She didn't believe me. Neither did I. The lawyer was next. 3 calls. 3 polite rejections. Then Garrett, soft-spoken, direct. We can file federally. But litigation against a company like Voxflesh would be costly. They're based in multiple jurisdictions. It's complex. How much to get started? $10,000. I didn't need to hear more. I hung up. $10,000. That might as well have been $1 million. Mia's tuition. Our mortgage. Everything I had saved would barely make a dent. I tried the press. Out of more than 50 emails, 1 response. A local tech blogger named Lee. He met me at a coffee shop near campus, recording the interview on his phone, sipping black coffee. Kind eyes, tired-faced, he asked good questions. He listened. The story went up the next morning. Local mother exposes AI exploitation of daughter's identity. 83 views, then the article vanished. His site went blank. His Twitter account deactivated. I messaged him. Nothing. That was when the messages started. Not to me, to Mia. Subject lines. Star of the show, smile more, enjoy the fame. Point one email was a slow-looped GIF from the deepfake. My daughter's stolen image reduced to a sickening joke. The sender's name. Mommy can't save you. Mia opened one by accident. She stopped using her computer after that. I forwarded everything to the police. Silence.at night. I stopped sleeping. I read. I taught myself digital sleuthing, OSINT, metadata, file tracing. I learned what kind of data was hidden in an image, how to follow an upload trail, how to scrape archived pages before they vanished. I joined a private support group for women whose daughters had been targeted. The stories were all too familiar. Then came a message from a stranger. Check Git leak. File name. F112_listing.txt. I found it. An old breach. One of thousands. Most people would never know what to do with it. I did. Inside, under a folder named betaface/verified, I saw it. Mia_park3.jpg. There were dozens more. Hundreds. I reached out to the names I could track down. Emma was first. A former med student. She made tea with shaking hands. They turned me into something people could consume. Then threw me away. Then Sophia. She had changed her name. Moved across the country. Only spoke over Signal. He knows how to hide. He pays people to erase things. Just be careful. Next was Rachel. Not the teacher from school, a young woman whose sister had nearly ended her life after a deepfake spread through her college dorm. She lived. But she would never be the same. One woman wouldn't give her name. Just left a voice message. He'll find out what you're doing. And he'll make you pay. While these women vanished, Colin Arlo kept getting louder. His name trended on business sites. His photo plastered over headlines, revolutionizing digital intimacy. Voxflesh valued at $900 million. He gave keynote speeches about AI ethics. I printed every headline and taped them above my desk like wanted posters. One night, I opened an old alumni database. Found a picture. Colin, grinning, drunk at a college party with a girl in a costume. It was public. I downloaded it, adjusted the lighting, added a blurred figure, changed the caption, posted it anonymously on a gossip forum. Tech CEO's party passed. Hypocrisy. It trended for hours. Meme accounts picked it up. I watched his image twist in the court of public opinion. It felt good. Just a little. Then the story vanished. Again, his PR team released a statement. Photoshopped. Malicious. Coordinated disinformation. Maybe it was wrong. Maybe it wasn't enough, but it was something, and it woke something in me that I ordered books on SEC fraud regulations. I learned how startups reported their engagement metrics. Voxflesh's quarterly investor reports were available online. The math didn't line up. Their site claimed hundreds of millions of impressions. But their traffic sources, the ones buried in their own code, said otherwise. Then I found the Slack logs. They were buried in a developer's old blog, half obscured. But there they were. Tripled impressions last week. Bots running smooth. Fraud. Real. Prosecutable fraud. I saved everything. Compiled a folder. Sent it, anonymously, to a former investigative journalist who now ran a tech-focused Substack. Subject: Truth from the Inside. 3 days later. Breaking. Voxflesh accused of falsifying metrics to lure investors. It exploded. Tech blogs. Finance news. VC firms scrambling. The company's stock took a hit. Arlo went silent. I watched it unfold from my kitchen table. No press conferences. No gloating. Just a quiet, grim satisfaction, until the letter came hand-delivered to my school. A cease and desist. Accusations of defamation. Legal threats. Intimidation. My principal called me in. Dana, your position is safe. But the board's concerned. This kind of attention, It's not what the district needs. I nodded. I smiled. He was scared. So was I. At home, Mia waited in the hallway. You lied, she said. You said you'd stop. I didn't deny it. I couldn't. You're my daughter. She shook her head. Her eyes filled with tears. I just wanted this to go away. And now you've made it worse. I'm trying to fix it. No, she said, stepping away. You're trying to win. She closed her bedroom door. I stood alone in the hallway, legal envelope in hand. My war had a price, and it was getting higher. The first time I heard someone else say his name out loud, it felt like a match striking in the dark. Colin Arlo ruined my life too, the voice said. I was on a late-night group call with 4 women, all hidden behind aliases and VPNs. We were careful. Paranoid. Some spoke. Some typed. One wouldn't use audio at all, but I didn't blame them. We called ourselves the 5. Not out loud. Not in messages. But we knew. We were the ones still standing. The ones who hadn't been scrubbed out or scared into silence. Emma had nearly lost everything, her medical license, her sanity, when her fake video surfaced just before her clinical exams. The institution had investigated her. Quietly. Nothing was found, but no one forgot. Sophia had fled her city and changed her name. She hadn't seen her parents in 2 years. Rachel spoke the least. But when she did, her voice didn't shake. And then there was me, Dana Parker. School counselor. Mother. Liar. Yes, I'd lied to Mia. Told her I'd let it go. Told her I'd stop, but I hadn't. I couldn't, and now I wasn't alone. Our coalition started in fragments. Scattered files. Old email threads. Voice notes, converted to text. I compiled it all into a digital binder. A private drive, password protected, backed up in triplicate. We started piecing together Vox Flesha's internal workings, bits of API code, usage logs, user complaints buried in old Reddit posts, snippets of Slack conversations leaked by disillusioned interns. Everything pointed to one thing, a system built not just to entertain, but to exploit. I found a reference to something called Ghost List. An internal label. Users flagged for maximum conversion. The ones whose faces, stolen from social platforms, triggered high engagement. Mostly women. Mostly young. I didn't want to see Mia's name there, but I had to know. I searched. There it was. Park Mia 21 flagged. High retention. Max boost. I closed the laptop and sat there, staring at the wall. Until the sun came up. I tried to tell Mia again. I really tried. I stood in the kitchen, watching her make tea, her movements slow, almost mechanical. You remember when you were little, and we used to write letters to each other? You'd leave them under my pillow. She looked up. Just barely. You wrote one that said, "You make me safe." I still have it. Her hands froze on the kettle. I'm still trying to do that, baby. I'm doing everything I can. She looked at me, then through me. I didn't ask you to. And just like that, the moment passed. The retaliation came quietly, then all at once. First, I noticed a glitch on my school email. Then a sudden spike in spam to my personal account. Messages filled with fake unsubscribe links, malicious attachments, phishing traps. Then came the call from HR. Dana, your position isn't in danger, but the board is requesting a formal review. There've been concerns about conduct. The letter wasn't specific. But I knew. And they knew I knew. They wanted to rattle me. They succeeded. But they also did something else. They reminded me of the stakes. Emma was the one who gave me the idea that she'd been scraping SEC forms for years. Ever since her fake video nearly derailed her future. She pointed out the quarterly filings Vox Flesh had submitted, inflated numbers, unverifiable engagement stats, massive disparities between platform claims and back-end data from ad agencies. We cross-referenced traffic logs with leaked code snippets from a disgruntled developer who posted under the alias M3 Tacked. The code showed fake view inflation, rotating IPs, and synthetic engagement loops, all designed to lure venture capital by appearing bigger than they were. Fraud, and we had proof that I bundled the data into a packet, Spreadsheets, chat screenshots, code annotations. I drafted a timeline. I didn't sign it. I sent it anonymously to the same Substack journalist who'd broken the last story. The subject line read, "This is what they built. This is how it breaks." While we waited for the fallout, I prepared. I bought an encrypted phone, rented a P.O. box in a different county, backed up every file I had to a private server. Then I built something else, a map. Every victim I could verify. Every known affiliate of Vox Flesh. Every date, incident, cover-up, and leak. Dots, lines, connections. Like a crime board in a detective film, I stared at it night after night. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a system. A pattern. Intentional harm, packaged as innovation. They thought we'd disappear. That shame would bury us. Instead, we became a network. Then it happened. The article dropped. SEC violation? Whistleblower reveals deepfake startups' artificial ad reach. It exploded. Mainstream outlets picked it up. Vox Flesh's valuation took another hit. Investors started asking questions. Colin went into hiding again, but this time, the pressure didn't fade. A week later, their board released a statement. Pending internal review, CEO Colin Arlo will be stepping aside. I didn't cry. I didn't laugh. I just exhaled. But the others? They wanted more. Emma wanted to go public. Sophia wanted to disappear completely. Rachel said nothing. And me, I wasn't sure. Until I opened a file labeled _Colin Prototypedus 1, MOV. IT was buried in the Slack logs. A test video, his face. His voice. Artificial, but perfect. The same technology they'd used to humiliate our daughters, our sisters, ourselves. I edited the clip. Just slightly. Colin Arlo, dancing at a board meeting. Shirtless. Singing lyrics I wrote myself. I added sound. Reprocessed the lip sync. Rendered it clean. Then I posted it on a parody account. No claims. No threats. Caption. Innovation, right? Within hours, it was everywhere. I didn't tell the 5. I knew they wouldn't all agree, but I did it anyway. For a moment, the internet loved it. The same machine that had mocked our pain now mocked our tormentor. I thought it might feel wrong. IT didn't, but it cost me. Emma called me in tears. You made it about him. About revenge. Now no one's taking the fraud seriously. Sophia deleted all our shared files. Rachel? She finally spoke. You wanted justice. Then you wanted blood. Don't confuse them. Even Mia stopped speaking to me for 3 days. I stared at the screen. At the 1,000 retweets. The memes. The sound clips. Was it petty? Yes. Was it wrong? I still don't know. What I do know is this. Sometimes when you take something from someone, their image, their voice, their dignity, the only thing that makes sense is to take something back. Colin built an empire on other people's faces. He never expected to see his own. I made sure he did. There wasn't a single moment when I felt like I'd won. Not even after Colin Arlo stepped down. Not even when the investors pulled their money. What came next wasn't victory. It was something else. Something messier, because when a system unravels, it doesn't do it neatly. It drags everything with it, including you. After the video of Colin went viral, the parody I had crafted so precisely, something shifted. The tone online changed. People stopped seeing him as untouchable. The comments went from admiration to mockery, and the memes, they were relentless. People edited his face onto dancing avatars, inserted him into video game clips, turned his voice into music remixes. It became a circus, which meant he was no longer scary, but it also meant the story, the real story, started to drown in noise. The Substack journalist I had worked with messaged me. The deepfake post went wide. But the fraud case is being treated like a side note. I'm trying to redirect it. Too late. The crowd had already moved. Emma stopped responding to the group chat. Sophia deleted her shared folders and disappeared from our encrypted room. Rachel posted a message that simply read, "This is not what we agreed to." And Mia, she came home one afternoon and placed her phone on the kitchen counter. Her eyes were tired. They're using my face in memes now, she said. I opened my mouth, but nothing came. She nodded, like she expected my silence. This was supposed to be about justice. Then she turned and walked away. I stood there, hands trembling, knowing that I'd lost something more important than a fight. I had broken the one thing I had sworn to protect, her trust. The media storm kept growing. I watched from a distance as Colin's reputation shattered further. Past employees came forward. Leaks turned into exposés. Voxflesh issued formal statements about restructuring, rebranding, and compliance. IT wasn't enough. They were protecting their brand, not the people they had hurt, and Colin? He disappeared completely. No interviews. No denials. Just gone, until I got the message that IT came to my encrypted inbox. No name, just a timestamp and a subject line. You think you know everything. Inside was a video. A real one. Colin, sitting in what looked like a hotel room. Hair longer, face paler, eyes tired. You wanted to tear everything down, he said. Congratulations. You did. But you didn't fix anything. You just fed the fire. He leaned forward. His voice was calm. What do you think happens next, Dana? You become a hero? You speak at tech panels? Get a book deal? No one cares. They never cared about your daughter. They just needed a new villain. And you gave them one. He stared directly into the camera. You're not the Avenger. You're just the next mask. I watched that video 3 times, and then I deleted it not because he was right, but because I was done giving him my attention. He built a system that hurt people and profited from their pain. But I had to admit, he was right about one thing. I didn't fix anything. Not YET. I in the weeks that followed. I focused on the others. I messaged Emma again. Apologized. Explained. I wanted to shake people. Make them see. I didn't think it would derail everything else. She replied after a few days. I understand. I needed the silence. Rachel sent me a folder, her notes from our earliest meetings. The original timeline. The list of victims. I opened it and cried, not because of what was in it, because I almost forgot why we started. Mia still wouldn't talk to me. Not really, she lived at home, but the distance between us was wide. She worked part-time at a library, barely used her phone. I left notes on her door. I stopped asking questions. I waited. One evening, she knocked on my door. Can we talk? She sat at the edge of the bed. Her hands were cold. I get why you did it. I do. And part of me. I'm glad someone fought. But I didn't want the fight to consume everything. I nodded. I wanted to reach for her hand, but didn't. You're my mom. You're not a soldier. I looked at her, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something settle inside me. I forgot that, I said quietly. I forgot who I was fighting for. She smiled. A little. Just enough. The last thing I did was probably the most important. I took every file, every piece of data, every name, and I organized them. Not to expose anyone. Not for vengeance, but to document what happened, a history, a record. So that someone else, someday, could see it and know that it was real, that it mattered. I sent the file to a nonprofit working on digital rights for women. I didn't include my name, just a note, from someone who didn't want to forget. I never got a reply. I didn't need one. Sometimes you don't need to win to matter. Sometimes the echo is enough. It's quiet here, not the kind of quiet that comes from absence. The kind that settles in after a long storm. One that fills the space where fear used to be. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, just finished. I'm writing this from a small apartment near the coast. It's rented under a different name. The ocean is just loud enough to remind me I'm not dreaming. Every morning, I walk down to the shoreline and let the tide reach my toes. It's cold, honest, undeniably real, and for the first time in what feels like years, I can breathe. Mia is rebuilding her life. She changed her major, got a job at a local nonprofit that helps displaced students, and started painting again. Her art is strange and beautiful. It's full of color and noise and confusion. But it's hers. We talk more now, not every day. Not always deeply, but enough she forgave me. Not all at once, not with a dramatic scene, but in small, steady ways, sitting beside me during a quiet movie, texting to let me know she got home safe, leaving me a cup of tea on my desk. She told me once, "I still wish none of it had happened. But if it had to happen, I'm glad you didn't let it destroy you." I didn't have a reply. I just squeezed her hand. Sometimes words get in the way of healing. Vox Flesh is gone. Or rather, it's renamed, restructured, and relocated. They changed their logo, overhauled their website, and shifted to a new product strategy focused on virtual training simulations. Some of the executives quietly resigned. Others rebranded themselves as AI ethics consultants. The lawsuits are still crawling through the courts. A few early hearings have gone public, mostly procedural stuff. But the cases are piling up. Colin hasn't surfaced since that final video. No updates. No press statements. No explanations. No apologies. I imagine him scrolling through the news on a private browser, watching his legacy dissolve headline by headline, wondering who will write the ending. I hope it haunts him, not because I want revenge, but because I want him to remember that faces aren't just data. They're people, and some of us remembered. A few weeks ago, I received an email from a digital ethics conference. They wanted me to speak, not as a victim, not even as a whistleblower, as someone who did what no one else would. I stared at the invite for a long time. Reread the words. Tried to picture myself behind a podium, facing a crowd of strangers with kind eyes and open notebooks, but I couldn't see it. I declined. Let someone else tell that part of the story. I've said what I needed to say, and the world has enough speeches. What it needs is memory. I started something new. A small online community. Private. Invitation only. It's for mothers, daughters, sisters, friends, anyone impacted by synthetic media violations. A place where stories can be told without fear, where questions can be asked, where no one has to prove they deserve compassion. We don't have sponsors. We don't go viral. There are no influencers here, just survivors, people who refuse to let silence define them. We share advice. We compare research. Sometimes we just vent, sometimes we cry, and sometimes we laughed. It's not therapy. It's something quieter, stronger, a net made of words and shared truth. And in that space, I've found something close to peace. Every so often, I still get messages. Some from people I helped directly. Others from people I've never met. Point one stood out. The subject line said, "We know what you did." For a moment, I froze, but when I opened it, the message read, "Thank you. You didn't just break him. You made the rest of us feel seen." I read it 3 times, then I sat with it, not because I needed praise, but because I finally understood something I hadn't before. Justice doesn't always look like a courtroom or a confession. Sometimes it's a ripple. Sometimes it's a single voice in the dark saying, "Me too." Sometimes it's a quiet morning near the ocean when no one is watching and you still choose to keep going. Was it worth it? I ask myself that more often than I admit out loud. When I see what Mia has overcome, when I see her living, creating, trying, I want to say yes, but part of me will always carry the weight of what we lost. The innocence, the privacy, the sense of safety in being unseen, the version of the world where we thought things like this couldn't happen to real people. Oh no. It wasn't worth that, but maybe it was necessary. Maybe someone had to speak first. Maybe someone had to hold the line while others gathered their strength. Maybe the hardest part of justice isn't finding it. Maybe it's surviving it. I walk to the ocean every morning, and I listen to the waves, to the wind, the echo of everything we did, the silence that no longer scares me. There's something healing about repetition, about standing in the same place again and again, and letting it be enough that I don't know if justice was served, but I know it was heard, loud and clear.